You're listening to The Jacob Valk Show. He's breaking down the latest and greatest in sports as only he can. Follow him on Twitter @RealJacobValk. Here he is, Jacob Valk.
Hello, sports fans! Welcome to another edition of the Jacob Valk Show. I am the Jacob Valk, and you're not. Usually I start with basketball, but I'm not going to do that here. I'm going to start with hockey, specifically Bruins Islanders. If you saw my Twitter, @RealJacobValk, you know I was there. Got a picture with Robert Sala. That was really fun. He's a nice guy. Very, very nice guy. He was posing for pictures with everyone. Literally everyone. Like security was trying to move him along. He didn't listen. I give him a ton of credit. Said to him as I was leaving, all gas, no brake. And he said, all gas, brother. He's going to do a good job. Very easy to get behind him. But that game yesterday was weird. I felt like the Islanders outplayed the Bruins through a sizable part of the first period and all through the second period. Then in the third period, it was all Bruins. And then overtime, all Islanders. You take a look at the score sheet, it doesn't reflect that. Craig Smith scored in the first period. Matthew Barzal scored his first goal of these playoffs in the third period. And Brad Marchand scored on the second shot that the Bruins took in overtime. In fact, the Craig Smith goal was the second shot that Varlamov faced. How's this for a stat? Varley has allowed a goal on one of the first 3 shots that he's faced in all 4 of his playoff starts this year. What's the one thing you really don't want to do as a team? Play from behind. What has Varley had the Islanders do in all 4 of his playoff starts? Play from behind. Just for whatever it's worth, in these playoffs, he's 1-2-1. I mean, that overtime goal that Marchand scored, and of course it's Marchand, how did that puck go in? That is from one of the sharpest angles you can get. He's on the left side of the ice, and Marchand just snipes it over Varley's glove. Varley's glove hand is his left hand. I don't know how that puck went in. I've seen replays of it. I'm still trying to figure out how Varley didn't stop that puck. They said this on the broadcast, that Varley may have just been surprised by it. He wasn't expecting it. That's why it went in. Okay, if that's the truth, that's absolutely inexcusable. You're a goalie in overtime. You see Brad Marchand, a good hockey player, an infuriating hockey player, but a good hockey player, skating down the left wing. You've got to be ready for him to take that shot. That just proves the axiom. Put the puck on net, you never know what'll happen. I mean, the Islanders had their chances in this game. The Brock Nelson save, the Anthony Beauvillier save in the third period. Then the power play late in the game. Those were some big moments there. Those 3 penalties. The Andy Green high stick, the Josh Bailey trip, and the Sean Corrali cross-check. And I'll say this while I'm on the subject of penalties. The refereeing in that game was terrible. I thought there were a lot of cross-checks that weren't called, a lot of trips that weren't called. I understand that this is the playoffs, but some of those were really egregious. What's my rule? In the playoffs, give them a little more leniency, but if it's egregious, you've got to call it. Some of those things that the Bruins got away with was egregious. I mean, make no mistake about it, the Islanders now have to win tomorrow. They're not going to win 3 straight against this Bruins team. If they lose tomorrow, the series is over. That means generating more opportunities, getting more than 29 total shots. You know the crowd's going to be into it, and the crowd was into it. I'm not saying they weren't, but for a crowd of 12,000 people, the highest number to attend an Islanders game at the Coliseum this year, I didn't think they were as crazy as they could have been. I mean, it's kind of weird, right? I'm advocating for the fans to go nuts and chant "Let's Go Islanders" a million times because I know that the players feed off it. When I go to games, I'm not very demonstrative. I'm demonstrative when I need to be, but more often than not, I'm just sitting in my seat, getting into the game my own way. You don't need to have outward shows of expression to prove to everyone that you're in the game. If your eyes are glued on the puck, not looking anywhere else, you're not even blinking, that's okay. But Islanders fans as a whole are very demonstrative. They're chanting "Let's Go Islanders" all the livelong day. They're singing that insulting Josh Bailey song that no one realizes is insulting. Think about what it's saying. Hey, Josh Bailey, I want to know, can you score a goal? That's saying that Josh Bailey doesn't score goals. You're singling him out and saying he needs to score more goals. That's insulting. If you're going to say, hey, Josh Bailey, I want to know, can you score again? That's fine. Doing it the other way, though, is just insulting. They've started chanting the name of the opposing goalie. They did it with Tristan Jarry. Now they're doing it with Tuukka Rask. The thing is, though, I don't think that affects Rask. Because what do Bruins fans chant after Rask makes a big save? They chant Tuuk. So Islanders fans chanting Tuukka doesn't make a lot of sense. Islanders fans are passionate fans, but they're not the smartest fans. In fact, they're really dumb. I mean, for goodness sake, because of them, I couldn't use the restroom. From like the second period on, I was holding my bladder. I really had to do what comes naturally. But no matter which bathroom I went to, there was a line out the wazoo. I don't want to miss any of the game, so I just held it. I saw some people leaving their seats with like 2 minutes left in the period to get a head start on the line. It makes sense. I don't begrudge people for doing that. I don't know how I was able to hold it. That was the first thing I did when I got home. Hey Mom, don't talk to me, I really have to use the restroom. The line for concessions was pretty bad, but the Islanders do have some vendors that sell just drinks. They'll sell beer, hard seltzer, and water. That usually doesn't have a line. And I'm going to give everyone the best advice in the world. Eat before you get to the game tomorrow. Have a big dinner. Like I said, the line's going to be crazy long. So unless you're okay with missing some of the game, or you're getting to the Coliseum really early, eat before you get there. So look, both goalies played really well. Varlamov did stop 39 shots. He only gave up 2 goals. He played well enough to win. The Islanders just couldn't solve Rask. How did they score their 1 goal? By jamming at the loose puck. Somehow sneaking it under his skate. The last 2 goals that the Islanders have scored in this series have been weird goals. The Barzal goal, just jamming away at the puck after missing on the initial wraparound. Nothing wrong with that. Doesn't matter how it goes in, just matters if it goes in. It's just kind of weird. And the Cizikas goal, the breakaway that was caused by an uncharacteristic mistake from Jeremy Lauzon. Again, give the Islanders credit for taking advantage of the opportunities that they were given, but so far it's been evident to me that the Bruins are the more skilled team, they're the better team. The Islanders are playing them tight. The last 2 games have gone into overtime. They're putting up a really good fight. But if they don't win tomorrow, the series is over. Moving on now to Hurricanes Lightning. A game that was only good for 1 period. There were 4 goals scored in regulation. All of them came in the second period. In fact, to add to that, it came in an 11-minute and 3-second stretch of the second period. You take a look at the first goal, terrible change by the Lightning. Didn't get the puck in deep, decided to change anyway. The Hurricanes pushed the pace, they did the right thing. And Brett Pesce just unleashed a nice slap shot past Andrei Vasilevsky. The second Hurricanes goal, an absolutely great pass by Jacob Slavin. He passed it from his own zone to center ice. Teuvo Teravainen ended up tipping it to Sebastian Aho. Aho got a step on Nikita Kucherov and went 5-hole on Vasilevsky. So the Hurricanes are in the driver's seat here, right? Well, not necessarily. 21 seconds after that goal, Sebastian Aho took a cross-checking penalty. Great passing play on the power play by the Lightning. They got the Hurricanes penalty kill all out of sorts. That made it 2-1. We had a game. The Hurricanes didn't learn their lesson, though. Brady Shea, who's had a terrible series, took a hooking penalty. Bad job by the Hurricanes penalty kill. They were just watching the puck. Really weren't doing anything else. They let the Lightning enter their zone very easily. They didn't give Mrazek much support. You can't leave anyone wide open in the slot like that. That was a really bad job by the Hurricanes. 2-2 after 2. Then the Lightning took a penalty of their own. Nikita Kucherov took a holding the stick penalty. Great passing play by the Hurricanes. And Jordan Staal ended up winning the game for the Lightning. So we've got a series now. I did not think that Peter Mrazek would be able to come in cold and win this game in Tampa Bay. I got that wrong. Mrazek played well. He made 35 saves. It's kind of funny. The Hurricanes had the opportunity to put their foot on the throat of the Lightning if they could just stop taking penalties. Especially right after you take a 2-0 lead in the second period. I mean, that was a really, really bad penalty by Aho. But the Lightning had the chance to put their foot on the throat of the Hurricanes in this series. If they won yesterday, the series is over. They're not blowing a 3-0. The smart money is still on the Lightning to win this series, but the Hurricanes are making them sweat. Give them credit. But now it's time to preview tonight's 2 games. I'll start with Canadiens Jets. The big story with this game is that Mark Scheifele was suspended. He got suspended for 4 games, so he will miss games 2 through 5. Obviously, he didn't agree with the suspension. Then again, no one ever agrees with their suspension. If you were going to suspend him in the regular season. Don't do it in the playoffs. I mean, Scheifele's a good hockey player. He's a clean hockey player. He's never been suspended before. Bad job by the Department of Player Safety. We've been saying that too much recently. The Habs don't need to change much in this game. They scored 5 goals in game 1. The one thing I would say is don't let your emotions get the better of you. There's a chance that the Habs are going to be out for blood. A guy like Ben Sherratt could end up doing something stupid to a guy like Kyle Connor, or Nick Ehlers, or Blake Wheeler. You don't want to do that here. Don't lose focus of what you need to do. Go up 2-0 and bring the series back to Montreal with that commanding lead. I agree that the Habs need to play more physically. They got out hit in game 1, 42-24. But I don't want their emotions to run away from them. As for the Jets, those 3 guys that I just mentioned, Connor, Ehlers, and Wheeler, and you know what, I'll throw in some of the other guys too, Andrew Kopp and Neil Pionk, are all going to need to step up. Realize, no Scheifele. Scheifele is the best player that the Jets have. It's going to be really, really tough for the Jets to compensate for losing their best player for not just this game, a game that they really need to win, but also games 3, 4, and maybe 5. If they have any chance of withstanding that suspension, The other big guns on the Jets need to step up. It's just that simple. Moving on now to Avalanche Golden Knights. If the Avalanche are going to win this game, I'd like them to generate a little more pressure on Marc-Andre Fleury. In Game 2, he only faced 25 shots. Excluding the first period, the Avalanche only had 14 shots. You know how many shots the Golden Knights had in just the third period? 15. I mean, that's just not going to work. The Avalanche need to get more opportunities. Dump and chase if you need to. Get a strong forecheck going. Just put pucks on net. You never know what'll happen. Case in point, Brad Marchand. Make Fleury work. That's how he'll win this game. As for the Golden Knights, they need to step up their penalty kill. In both games in this series, the Avalanche have gone 2 for 6 on the power play. The Golden Knights really have 2 coaches working on their penalty kill. Ryan McGill and Steve Spott. Those guys need to change up what the Golden Knights are doing. Be a little more aggressive. Don't let them set up their passing plays. Don't let them enter the zone that easily. You've got to change up something, because what the Golden Knights are doing on the penalty kill just isn't working. Alright, now I'll give you some NBA Valk talk. And I know everyone's talking about Suns-Lakers, but I like to go chronologically, so I want to start with Nuggets-Blazers. Because that was a great game. It just got overshadowed by what happened at the Staples Center. The Trailblazers had this game pretty well in hand at one point. They were up 14 in the third quarter. Lillard was doing Lillard things. McCollum was stepping up. Robert Covington was playing well. Norman Powell was playing well. Melo was playing well. It seemed like the Blazers were gonna force a Game 7. The Nuggets did come back from that 14-point hole. After McCollum hit the jumper to make it 93-79, with 4 minutes and 53 seconds left in the third quarter, for the rest of that quarter, the Nuggets outscored the Blazers 19-8. They got more than doubled up. Nikola Jokic went off. But the Blazers were still in the driver's seat. They were up 3. It really seemed like they were going to force a Game 7. Then the fourth quarter hit, and the Trailblazers were just dead to the world. In the final 6.5 minutes of this game, the Blazers scored just 9 points. To put that in perspective, the Nuggets, in that same time period, scored 21. Let me tell you, watching that game, I got flashbacks to the Blazers game that happened 21 years ago today. Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals. The Blazers are up by 15 in the fourth quarter. And then the Lakers just come storming back. You may have seen this clip, the alley-oop from Kobe to Shaq, and Shaq has this look on his face like, oh, we did it! We're gonna do this thing! And he's pointing at Kobe. That was Game 7 of the 2000 Western Conference Finals. The loss yesterday obviously isn't as bad as that loss, but it's similar, let me tell you. The Blazers need to take a long, hard look in the mirror. This core that they have just isn't working. They are wasting Damian Lillard's career. They've never made an NBA Finals with him. Yes, they made a Western Conference Finals. Okay, congratulations. No one remembers that. Seriously, I remember, nothing about that Western Conference Finals against the Warriors. It was a sweep. That's all I remember. Steph Curry went off, because of course he did. There has been speculation, nothing serious, but it's been thought about that the Blazers could move on from Terry Stotts. This isn't Stotts' fault. Terry Stotts is a good coach. He'd be out of a job for a minute before another team picked him up. He'd make sense for the Celtics, let me tell you. The reality is the supporting cast around Lillard just isn't good enough. Maybe you need to move on from McCollum. Maybe you need to move on from Nurkic. How about you try a Bradley Beal trade? Who says no to a trade centered around Bradley Beal for CJ McCollum? You've got to try something. What you're doing isn't working. It makes the Blazers a lot better. Bradley Beal's a lot better than CJ McCollum. But look, congrats to the Nuggets. They beat a good Blazers team. A Blazers team that I thought would win this series. The Jamal Murray injury hasn't slowed them down at all. They get a ton of credit for that. The NBA may not like a Suns-Nuggets second round. And they definitely don't like the Jazz advancing, but you know what? They were the 3 best teams in the West for a reason. Speaking of the Phoenix Suns, obviously they clinched their second round berth by destroying the Lakers yesterday. I don't care that they only won by 13. No, that was a destruction. They had a 29-point lead at one point. They were up by 22 at the end of one. That was a game that you turned off in the first quarter and said, you know what, I'm going to bed early. You knew that the Lakers weren't going to come back, especially when you saw how bad of shape Anthony Davis was in. I'm not saying he was out of shape, but in the 5 minutes that he played, oh man, that was tough to watch. Every time he went up and down the floor, he was laboring. You could tell he was uncomfortable. I give him credit for trying to gut it out. Okay, that's the right thing to do when your team is facing elimination. But you know what? That performance yesterday is a fitting end to his injury-prone season. It's fair to wonder how competitive the Lakers would have been in this series if Davis was at 100%. You got the sense that LeBron wasn't even 100%. He never cracked 30 points in a game in this series. With Anthony Davis hobbled, you've got to step up if you're LeBron, and he didn't. I mean, this performance, this series does give fodder to the LeBron haters. Here's a guy who before this series was 14-0 in the first round. Look at it this way, LeBron stans. He's still undefeated in the first round if you just look at the Eastern Conference side of the bracket. Does this mean that LeBron isn't a good player, he's overrated, all the Skip Bayless nonsense? No, LeBron James is on the Mount Rushmore of the NBA. Anyone who says otherwise is just wrong. In no particular order, the NBA Mount Rushmore is Kareem, LeBron, Kobe, Michael. Again, that's not in order. I mean, I gotta be honest with you. I haven't paid attention to what Skip Bayless has said. I really don't care. I know he's going off on LeBron, I saw that, but specifically, I don't know what he said. Look, you gotta evaluate this series in context. This Lakers team was not great all year. LeBron missed a lot of time, AD missed a lot of time. They were the 7th seed. They had to win an extra game against the Warriors to get into the playoffs. They had to go on a 5-game win streak at the end of the season to get home court advantage in that game. They were going up against a Suns team that's good. It's not great, okay? The Suns aren't a great team. But they did win 51 games. Devin Booker is one of the best young players in the NBA. The veteran presence of Chris Paul really helped that team. Jay Crowder absolutely stepped up in that game yesterday. 6 for 9 from beyond the arc. Are you kidding me? How can you get on LeBron for losing a series when his team was the 7th seed? If the roles were reversed, the Lakers were the 2 seed and the Suns were the 7th seed, okay, I understand going off on him a little bit. Especially when he shot 3 for 10 from beyond the arc in an elimination game. I mean, that's bad. But it doesn't negate his whole career, for God's sake. Let me ask you something. In 2007, the 1 seed Dallas Mavericks got upset by the 8 seed Golden State Warriors. One of the biggest upsets in NBA history. Dirk Nowitzki was dreadful in that series. Shot under 40% from the field. Just 21% from beyond the arc. Does that terrible series take away the excellence of his career? No, of course not. Would he rather not have it on his ledger? Yes. But it's not the end of the world. For God's sake, they're both going to end up in Springfield. On the first ballot. Give me a freaking break. Alright, now it's time to preview tonight's game between the Clippers and the Mavericks. If the Clippers are going to win, they got to hit their shots. Game 5, the Mavericks dared the Clippers to shoot. The Clippers obliged. They attempted 38 threes, but they only hit 14 of them. That equates to 37%. That's not going to work. Kawhi Leonard needs to do better than 1 for 7 from 3. Paul George needs to do better than 3 for 7 from 3. Reggie Jackson was good. Marcus Morris was good. Rajon Rondo, I'd like to step up a little bit more, but he's like the 4th or 5th banana on that team, so he's not as important as Kawhi and George. The Clippers just need to hit their shots. It's just that simple. As for the Mavericks, they've got to go big again. Start Bobby again. Keep that starting lineup the same. You may have found something here. That lineup, Doncic, Hardaway, Finney-Smith, Porzingis, and Bobby, utterly stifled the Clippers. They only scored 100 points on Wednesday. That's the fewest number of points that they've scored in a game all series. This lineup works. It helps you defensively. But I caution you, if you see Kawhi and or George getting hot, you may need to change some things. Maybe double the hot guy on the catch. Also, I do just want to say this. As you know, the second round of the NBA playoffs are going to start tomorrow at 7:30. It'll feature the Bucks going up against my beloved Nets. So that got me thinking about what I'm going to do for picks in the second round. Here's what I came up with. If the Mavericks win tonight, I'll tweet out my second round picks at Real Jacob Valk. If the Clippers win, Game 7 is going to be on a Sunday. It'll be at 3:30 p.m. By then, we'll know who won Game 1 of Nets-Bucks, and we'll know who won Game 1 of Sixers-Hawks. I don't mind making picks with just 2 games in the books. 2 games in the same series? No way. 1 game in both of the Eastern Conference series? I'm okay with that. So just to summarize, if the Mavericks win, I'll tweet out my picks at Real Jacob Valk. If the series goes to a Game 7, I'll make my picks on Monday on the regular episode of the Jacob Valk Show. New York Yankees show comes your way Monday night. Regular episodes of the Jacob Valk Show come your way every weekday afternoon. On Friday, you're going to get an interview that I'm going to do with William Reisig. He wrote a book about Dr. Strangelove. No, not the excellent Stanley Kubrick movie. Dick Stewart, the former Pittsburgh Pirate. Going to be very fun to talk to him about that. Also on Wednesday, you're going to get an interview that I'm going to do with Matt Frazier and Robert Cheek. They wrote a book about being an athlete and following a plant-based diet. Very, very interesting topic. Until next time, I am Jacob Valk saying, Happy birthday, Mom!